What up, everybody? You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's show, we're going to talk about two NFL stars that have requested trades, and we'll talk about if it really makes sense for the Giants to trade for either of those guys. That being Budda Baker, the safety for the Arizona Cardinals, and Devin White, the inside linebacker of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both of these players have requested to be traded in what has already been a chaotic NFL offseason. And the reason I wanted to talk about this with the Giants is, one, a lot of you guys have hit me up on Twitter and asked me, does a Budda Baker trade make sense? Could they trade for Devin White? And also, let's go back to last week when Ryan Dunleavy tweeted out and said, don't be surprised if the Giants trade another of their draft picks for a veteran player between now and the end of the draft. Ryan Dunleavy was the guy that had the scoop on the Darren Waller trade. Ryan Dunleavy was the guy that had the first reports of the Giants, or Daniel Jones, excuse me, wanting to be paid $40 million per year. So Dunleavy has a good source right now within the New York Giants organization, and I'm going to listen to what he says. I am not going to be shocked if the Giants make a trade for another player. The question in today's show is, will it be either one of these two guys right here? So before I give you my insight and analysis, and I'll break these down, we'll show you stats for Budda Baker and Devin White. We'll talk about which one makes sense, but I want to get you guys involved in the show early on today. If you could only pick one of these players to trade for, who would it be? Type BB for Budda Baker or DW for Devin White. Sound off for me down below. And as you know, if you are subscribed, if the Giants make a move, we are going to make a video here on the channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed whenever the Giants make a move. If there's news, rumors, and also we're going to be live pretty much for every day of the NFL draft. We'll have a video out for every single pick that Joe Schoen makes. So lock us in. We are your one-stop shop all off-season long, and we're getting closer and closer to 27,500 subs on the channel. If you love the Giants and you want daily videos, hit that sub button, lock us in. Obviously, the Giants would have to be creative with the money in these situations. The Giants, they are right up against the salary cap. It will be hard to make either one of these trades work, but as we know, you can always manipulate the salary cap. Look at the New Orleans Saints. They do it every single year. If the Giants and Joe Schoen determine that Devin White or Budda Baker is a player that raises their team to another level, they are going to figure out the financials later. Is a trade all that likely? We'll talk about that. Is it impossible? No. Could they get it done with the money? Absolutely. I want to start, though, with Devin White. We'll talk about Budda Baker here in a second. Devin White is a very good football player. He's been in the NFL for 4 seasons, and this is what he's done since coming out of LSU and being a top 10 pick. 91 tackles his rookie year, also had 2.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, and 5 QB hits. The stats that jump off the screen for me when it comes to White is not just the tackles per year, because anyone can accumulate a lot of tackles at that linebacker spot. It's the sacks, it's the tackles for loss, and it's the QB hits. I think it's safe to say Devin White is one of, if not the best blitzing inside linebacker in the National Football League, and that's why he's had 9 sacks, 3.5 sacks, and 5.5 sacks in the last 3 years, with over 15 QB hits in each of those 3 seasons. That would fit perfectly in a Wink Martindale defense. The question is, do the Giants want to go out and pay another linebacker? They've already done some work to this Giants inside linebacker depth chart this offseason. They obviously brought in the big marquee free agent and Bobby Okereke. They re-signed Jared Davis. They drafted Darian Beavers last year. They like Micah McFadden as well. Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown are more of your special teams players. But I think the Giants are happy with where their linebacker room is right now. I'm not sure they would want to pay big money for another inside linebacker. They already did that with Bobby Okereke. And there's reports coming out that Devin White could want as much as $18 million per season. And I think that's out of the price range right now for the New York Giants. But if we're living in a world where we're not thinking about that, he would be an absolute perfect fit for the Giants. Him and Okereke in the middle of that defense. They both have that sideline-to-sideline speed. They like to play downhill. White isn't nearly the coverage linebacker that Okereke is, but White is an amazing blitzer, and I feel like Wink Martindale could really unlock that potential that he has and take him from a good player to a great player. I think he's a little bit overrated as a player already. I think he's a good linebacker, not a great linebacker, but I think in this system with the Giants, he could be one of the best in the National Football League. Just comes down to how much is it going to cost to trade for him. It would take a couple of picks. I think early picks is what Tampa would be looking for. And then White is going to want to be paid as one of the top 5 highest paid linebackers in the NFL. Is it all that likely? Honestly, I don't think it is. But I'll leave this up to you. Do you think the Giants need to add another inside linebacker to this depth chart? We showed you it. I think they could look to address the need, I guess you could say they have at that spot still in the draft. Giants have 10 overall picks in the NFL draft, so maybe they do look to address it at that spot, but I'll leave it up to you to answer. Type Y for yes and for no. Let me know what you're thinking. If you are ready for the NFL draft, though, you can get geared up and swagged up with our link in today's show. Shout out to Fanatics for sponsoring today's show. Go to chatsports.com/NYG draft hat. They've got this gray one. They've got this blue one. They've got the flat brim. They've got the curved brim. Whatever swag and whatever style of hats you like, we've got them in New York Giants draft hats gear. Go to chatsports.com/NYG draft hat. All right, we'll finish the show talking about Budda Baker and if a trade makes sense. It could, right? I mean, the Giants, they lost Julian Love and an NFL free agency, so maybe they could look to fill that need. Do I think so? Probably not, because they already signed a guy like Bobby McCain. They have those draft picks. But if you want to pay a safety, Budda Baker's got to be at the top of your list because, in my opinion, he's one of the best in the NFL. I mean, when you just look at the stats, they jump off the screen. Over 100 tackles 4 times in the last 3 years, and the only time he didn't do it, he got 98 tackles in the season. 7 pass breakups pretty much every year, 6 in the first 2 on screen, and he's a ball hawk as well. The guy has 7 interceptions in the past 3 seasons. He plays all over the football field. He could be that big nickel. He could play your single high safety. He could be the strong safety as well, and he could be a safety in the box and even blitz a little bit off the edge. And I just get a little bit excited about thinking about Budda Baker and Xavier McKinney being those 2 safeties on this football team. That would be maybe the best safety duo in the National Football League, definitely in the NFC East, but it would be a very expensive safety room because Xavier McKinney is going to have to get paid here pretty soon. He reported to the voluntary workouts the Giants are having right now. People asked him if he was going to not report because he wants a new contract. Well, after you hurt yourself on the bye week like McKinney did, you're probably not sitting in the best of waters to be asking for a new deal. But I like Jason Pinnock. Dane Belton was a 4th-round pick out of Iowa. And you brought in Bobby McCain, who I think is going to play a lot on this team. I think the Giants are set right now at the safety depth chart, and the fact that Budda Baker is the 7th highest paid safety in the National Football League when you look at average annual value, I'm just not so sure that's in the Giants' plans right now. But I think this graphic is key, and we'll show us a couple more times on this show because the Giants are going to have to pay Xavier McKinney here, whether it be before this year or after next year. And McKinney, I can tell you this much, he's going to want to be a part of this top 10 group per safeties. Look, the reason I don't think it's all that likely is because of the money. And I know I'm a guy that always downplays the money, but if the Giants didn't want to pay Julian Love what he wanted, that shows you that they don't want to allocate too many more resources to that position group. They signed a veteran minimum, Bobby McCain, 1-year deal to this roster. So if you're not going to pay Julian Love $6.5, $7 million per year, do you really want to pay Budda Baker $14.5 million? I do say this. I don't think the Giants are done adding players. Ryan Dunleavy talked about it. John Mara has talked about it when speaking to the media. He says we need more players. But these 2 guys, Budda Baker and Devin White, I think are a bit too expensive. You're looking at 2 of the highest paid players at that position. At least that's what Devin White wants to be. A report came out he wants to be paid $18 million. And then Budda Baker, we just showed you, was the 7th highest paid safety in the NFL. So I don't think either of these trades are all that likely for the Giants. I'm sure Joe Shane and this front office will do their due diligence and call up the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Arizona Cardinals, but I'd give this just 1 hard hat. If you know our rumor meter scale, 1 hard hat, a small shredded truth. Maybe people are talking a little bit, but I'm not putting too much stock into these guys. But I wanted to talk about them because, one, it's my job to talk about the latest news and rumors surrounding the NFL and how that pertains to the Giants. And a lot of you guys hit me up on Twitter, and you could do that over there at @MarshallGreen_ and DM me and ask me if Devin White or Budda Baker could be a New York Football Giant. I'd say probably not, but look, crazy things in the NFL happen all the time. I do know this. If the Giants make a move, first place you're going to hear about it is on my Twitter. So follow me over there at @MarshallGreen_ and we can talk some ball over there.